if I wanted to dominate, you're talking to somebody who I dominated expired canceleds in my
Mhm.
market. I'm one of the top three in Phoenix who sells expired canceleds.
Mhm.
I know I'm a dime a dozen, a million people sell expired canceleds, but if I wanted to now switch niches and absolutely crush these fiduciaries and these professionals who get court appointments,
Mhm.
the marketing aspect of it, which is, building the trust, building the relationship, and I wanted 15 to 20 of those relationships by the end of this year, let's say. If you're in my shoes, I have two of the biggest firms in the city referring to me. So I have a little bit of credibility. I can lean on their name.
Mhm.
But if you were like, okay, this is how you get in, this is what I would do in your shoes, I'm open to massive action. But just tell me what maybe my day looks like or what
Yep.
avenues I would hit.
Yep. So first off is we need to find the bait that they actually want. We spoke about this a little bit last week. Is what's the bait that they'll actually bite on? And last week I gave you some bait that you said one of your fiduciaries probably would not have bid on, which was I can get you more business. And I'm 90% sure that it was you. I might be wrong that said, hey, this person has all the business that they want. They're not really looking for anything from me.
Right.
Was that you?
Yeah, she's got court appoint. She gets named in estate plans
Yep.
decades in advance, so she
Yep.
doesn't really need me for
Okay.
that.
As a general rule of thumb, with exceptions like the fiduciary that you're talking about, as a general rule of thumb, the bait that most of these attorneys are going to bite on is that you run into folks that need fiduciaries or that need attorneys quite frequently, and you just need, be careful with your language here. I've just realized that I need a good attorney or I need a good fiduciary that I can refer to if I run into this in the future. And I say be careful of your language because overemphasizing what you get
Yeah.
leads to a lot of suspicion. How come I haven't heard your name before? You said you get 10 of these every month. I've never seen you before. Okay, it's not believable. Understating it doesn't get them even remotely excited. So, for the most part, I'm gonna call. That's the majority of my initial outreach. Not exclusively, but it's the majority of my initial outreach is to call these practices, and I will tell a story. And my story is something that's extremely believable to most people. It's hey, over the last year or so, I've run into a couple of clients or a couple of potential clients even who have had we're going through some kind of an estate process, and a few of them have asked me questions that made me realize that I need a good attorney or that it made me realize that I need a good fiduciary. Now, I'm also being very selective with my language here as well. I'm not saying I don't have attorneys and I'm not saying I don't have fiduciary relationships. I'm saying it's made me realize that I need a good fiduciary relationship. And I'm just omitting that I already have 20. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the question is that the kind of practice that you do?
Mhm.
Yes. Are you super busy, or if I had the occasional person for you, would you have room for them?
Okay.
Okay. Now, your one fiduciary would be, I'm so busy. Okay. Um, that's great, and I certainly don't want to take up your time. If you can't use referrals, maybe I could help a different way.
Mhm.
Could we meet for 15 minutes on Zoom sometime in the next couple of weeks? So, phone number one. I've used LinkedIn, and I think content is going to be huge on this because nobody wants to get a LinkedIn request that's coupled with a pitch. Like they click on the accept request, and all of a sudden an auto pitch pops up. I don't like it. I personally, I just go delete people that have only requested me to send me an auto pitch. Not everyone's going to do that, but they're going to be very likely to ignore you. So if you're going to go after LinkedIn, which is a great place to form these relationships, I think that you need to show a sequence of content on LinkedIn as well. And then that way, when you do message them, theoretically, they've been seeing your stuff for at least a couple of weeks. Okay.
Okay.
So back to content.
Yeah.
Next would be, you could email. Email's kind of like LinkedIn. That cold email, just like the cold LinkedIn message, I don't find that it gets a lot of traction. I'm not saying it gets no traction. It absolutely does sometimes get traction, but it's low percentage. Calls are much higher percentage, much
Okay.
higher. Next thing you should probably look at is joining the association, either the bar or fiduciaries, if that's what they call it in Arizona. I don't know what they call fiduciary association in Arizona, but something like that. Join as a vendor.
Okay.
So go see if you can sign up and join, and then attend as many of the events as possible.
Okay.
Last, build your non-attorney network. Non-attorney network, and get them excited about the possibilities in the probate space. So, an example, if you were a financial planner and I said to you, hey, I run into people that are inheriting wealth all the time and they don't have financial planners, would you be interested if I introduced you to them? What would you say?
Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely. Hey,
Yep.
while I build my network out, I could really use a great attorney in our group as well. Do you know anyone? Those are the easiest relationships to convert because they've been introduced by someone that they already like.
Hmm.
So the last thing that I'm going to do, and not last meaning lowest priority, but the last thing that's in my head right now is I'm going to just go build my regular network out with non-fiduciaries, non-attorneys that have a service that some families need, and ask them to take me to their attorney connections or their fiduciary connections.
Okay.
Right. And then you want to go deeper with that relationship, do content with them.